Thanks for being here. Subscribe to Cheating Stories Best, so you don't miss new stories.
Alfonso Manning's key turned in the lock with a soft click. The house was quiet, almost too quiet. He stepped inside, the weight of his travel bag pulling at his shoulder. "Shannon," he called out, his voice echoing through the empty rooms. No answer. He glanced at his watch. 4 p.m. Shannon would not be home from work for at least another hour. He had wrapped up his security consultation earlier than expected, hoping to surprise his wife. But now, standing alone in the silent house, a strange unease settled over him. Climbing the stairs, his footsteps heavy on the wooden steps, Alfonso headed to the bedroom. He dropped his bag on the bed and began unpacking, his movements automatic after so many business trips, suits on hangers, dirty laundry in the hamper, toiletries back in the bathroom. But as he hung his final shirt in Shannon's closet, something caught his attention. There was a slight irregularity in the back panel, barely visible unless you were trained to notice. Alfonso, with years of experience in security, noticed everything. "What the hell?" he murmured, running his fingers along the edge. Something was definitely off. He pressed gently, testing the panel. With a soft click, it popped open, revealing a hidden compartment. His brow furrowed as he reached inside and pulled out a stack of unlabeled DVDs. His heart began to race. A sense of foreboding crept over him. Why would Shannon hide these? What could possibly be on them? With trembling hands, Alfonso grabbed one of the discs and went downstairs to the living room. The DVD player whirred to life as he sank onto the couch, remote in hand. The screen flickered, and his world collapsed. There she was, Shannon, his wife of 5 years, laughing and holding hands with William Caldwell, their next-door neighbor and a prominent city councilman. The date stamp in the corner showed it was filmed just 2 weeks ago, while Alfonso had been away on another trip. "No, no, no," he whispered, his voice cracking. This could not be real. There had to be an explanation. He changed the disc, desperate for context, for anything that might make sense. But the next video brought only more devastation. Shannon with Gordon Avery, her boss and the CEO of a major tech company. Then another Shannon with Terrence Navarro, her cousin and a well-known philanthropist. Alfonso's mind reeled. How long had this been going on? How many others were there? And why, in God's name, had she recorded it all? He watched, numb with disbelief. But soon a disturbing pattern emerged. In each video, Shannon mentioned a special group she wanted her lovers to join. "You'd be perfect for our little club," Shannon purred to William in one clip, her hand resting on his thigh. "We could use someone with your connections." "I don't know, Shannon," William replied, visibly uneasy. "It sounds complicated." Shannon's laugh sent chills down Alfonso's spine. It was not her usual laugh. This was cold, calculating, almost predatory. "Oh, darling," she cooed. "It's only as complicated as you make it. Think of the possibilities." Alfonso's training began to override his emotions. This was not just infidelity. The way Shannon manipulated each man, the way she subtly introduced this mysterious group, it all suggested something deliberate, something dangerous. He rewound the footage, reviewing it with a critical eye. In one video, Shannon was in a luxurious hotel suite with Gordon Avery. "Gordon, sweetie," she said, her voice syrupy. "You know how much the group could benefit from your expertise. Think of the doors you could open." "I don't know, Shannon," Gordon replied. "My position is sensitive." If anyone found out, Shannon silenced him with a kiss. "No one will find out. We protect our own. Isn't that worth something?" Alfonso's stomach turned. With Terrence Navarro, Shannon used a different approach. "Terrence, darling," she said, voice soft as velvet, "imagine the good we could do with your connections. The charity work alone." Terrence seemed more eager than the others. "You really think I could make a difference?" Shannon's smile was triumphant. "Oh, absolutely. We're going to change the world, one person at a time." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the living room, Alfonso sat in stunned silence. The woman on these tapes, this manipulative, cunning woman, was not the Shannon he thought he knew. He glanced at his watch. Shannon would be home soon. He needed to act normal. He needed to pretend his world had not just been shattered. But more than that, he needed help. This was bigger than just a marital betrayal. This was a calculated operation. He carefully returned the DVDs to their hiding place, making sure everything looked untouched. Then, he picked up his phone and scrolled through his contacts. His finger hovered over one name, Sylvia Rodriguez, a former colleague turned private investigator. If anyone could help him uncover the truth, it was her. Taking a steadying breath, Alfonso hit call. The next morning, Alfonso sat at his desk at Elite Guard Solutions, staring blankly at his computer screen. The words blurred before him. He had barely slept, lying beside Shannon, hyper-aware of every breath she took. How could she sleep so peacefully, knowing their entire life was built on lies? "Manning, you all right?" His colleague, Jake, peered at him from across the room. "You look like hell, man." Alfonso forced a smile. "Just a rough night. I'm fine." As soon as Jake turned away, Alfonso pulled out his phone. The conversation with Sylvia the night before had been brief. She had agreed to meet him today. He pressed call again, his heart pounding. Sylvia Rodriguez speaking. "It's Alfonso. Are we still on for lunch?" There was a pause. "Of course. The cafe we discussed in an hour. I'll be there." An hour later, they sat in a quiet corner of a nearby cafe. Alfonso's coffee sat untouched as he recounted the entire discovery. Sylvia's expression remained unreadable. "And in every video, she brings up this special group," Alfonso finished, his voice low. "Sylvia, I have never seen Shannon like this. The way she manipulated these men, it was like watching a stranger." Sylvia leaned back, her eyes sharp. "So, you want me to investigate this group she's recruiting for?" Alfonso nodded. "I need to know what I'm dealing with. This feels bigger than just cheating. The way she talked about connections, about changing the world, it scares me. I think she's involved in something dangerous." Sylvia's expression softened slightly. "I'll look into it. But you need to prepare yourself. Whatever I find, it might be ugly." "I know," Alfonso whispered. "But I need the truth, no matter how dark it is." She reached across the table and briefly squeezed his hand. "I'll start digging. In the meantime, you need to act normal. If Shannon suspects anything, it could make this a lot more dangerous." Alfonso nodded, the weight of it all settling on his shoulders. "How long do you think it will take?" "Hard to say," Sylvia replied. "If this group is as organized as it sounds, they'll have covered their tracks. Give me a few weeks. I'll contact you if anything comes up." As they parted ways, Alfonso felt a strange blend of relief and dread. Relief that he was no longer facing this alone, and dread for what Sylvia might find next. Over the following weeks, Alfonso lived in a constant state of tension. At home, Alfonso forced himself to act normal around Shannon, even as his skin crawled every time she touched him, kissed him, or told him she loved him. He found himself scrutinizing her every word, every gesture, searching for traces of the manipulative woman he had seen in those videos. "You're quiet tonight," Shannon said one evening, curling up beside him on the couch. "Is everything all right at work?" Alfonso forced a smile. "Just tired. Big project coming up." Shannon frowned, genuine concern flickering in her eyes. "You are working too hard, honey. Maybe we should take a vacation soon. Just the two of us." The thought made Alfonso's stomach churn. "Maybe," he said noncommittally. "Let's see how this project goes first." At work, he struggled to concentrate, jumping each time his phone buzzed with a potential message from Sylvia. His colleagues had begun to notice the change. "Manning, are you sure you're okay?" Jake asked one day, his voice filled with concern. "You have been off for weeks now." Alfonso sighed, rubbing his eyes. "Just some personal issues. I will be fine." Jake hesitated, as if he wanted to say more, but at that moment, Alfonso's phone buzzed again. It was a text from Sylvia. "We need to talk. Same cafe. 1 hour." Alfonso's heart pounded. This was it. "Sorry, Jake," he said abruptly, rising from his seat. "Family emergency." An hour later, he sat across from Sylvia at the cafe, his hands tightly gripping a cup of coffee he had not touched. "It is worse than we thought," Sylvia said without preamble as he sat down. Her expression was grim, the usual professional detachment in her demeanor beginning to crack. "This special group, it is a sophisticated, cult-like organization. They target influential and wealthy individuals for marriages and affairs." Alfonso felt the blood drain from his face. "What is their endgame?" "Blackmail, primarily," Sylvia answered, her voice low and cautious as she glanced around. "They use these relationships to manipulate their targets, pressuring them into joining or financing their operations. But that is not all." She paused, locking eyes with him. "They are also involved in large-scale money laundering, identity theft, and even human trafficking. And they have deep connections within city government and law enforcement." Alfonso's mind reeled as he began piecing together the implications. The powerful men in the videos, a city councilman, a CEO, a well-known philanthropist. All of them perfect targets. So Shannon is a key player? He asked, though he feared the answer. I am sorry, Alfonso, Sylvia said gently. But from what I have uncovered, your wife is not just involved. She is one of their top recruiters. Alfonso felt as though he had been punched in the stomach. He had known it was bad, but this was beyond anything he had imagined. How long has this been going on? Sylvia shook her head. It is hard to say. They cover their tracks well. But from the evidence I have, Shannon has been involved for at least 3 years. 3 years. Half their marriage. Alfonso's world tilted. What do I do now, Sylvia? I cannot just go home and pretend everything is normal. You have to, she urged, leaning forward. At least for now. This organization is dangerous. If they suspect you know anything, your life could be in jeopardy. She hesitated. There is a charity gala next month. A lot of the city's elite will be attending, including several individuals I suspect are involved. If we are going to expose them, that might be our best chance. Alfonso nodded slowly, already forming a plan in his mind. I will need your help. We only get one shot at this. You have it, Sylvia said without hesitation. Whatever you need. As they parted ways, Alfonso felt a strange combination of dread and resolve. The truth he had uncovered was horrifying, and the road ahead would be dangerous. But he was committed. He had devoted his life to protecting others, and now he had a chance to dismantle an organization that had caused immeasurable harm, including to him. He squared his shoulders and returned to his office. It was time to begin planning. The weeks leading up to the charity gala were a blur of sleepless nights and meticulous preparation. At home, Alfonso continued the facade, every interaction with Shannon a performance in a treacherous dance. One false move could unravel everything. Are you excited about the gala? Shannon asked one evening as they got ready for bed. Her tone was light, but Alfonso caught a glint of calculation in her eyes. He smiled faintly. Of course, it is always a good time. Shannon's answering smile sent a chill down his spine. Oh, absolutely. I have a feeling this year's event will be memorable. If only she knew. The night of the gala arrived. Alfonso stood in front of the mirror, adjusting his bow tie. The invitation lay on the dresser, a gilded symbol of the night ahead. Shannon stepped out of the bathroom, radiant in a shimmering gown that clung to her curves. You look handsome, she said, kissing his cheek. Alfonso fought the instinct to recoil. Thank you, he replied calmly. You look beautiful. As they drove to the venue, Alfonso's mind churned. Weeks of planning, secret meetings with Sylvia, favors called in and information discreetly gathered. Everything hinged on tonight. The ballroom was a glittering sea of elegance. Alfonso scanned the crowd, recognizing faces from the videos. William Caldwell near the bar, his wife blissfully unaware. Gordon Avery laughing with executives, his hand resting on his assistant's lower back. Taryn Navarro charming a group of socialites, his gaze frequently drifting to Shannon. I am going to mingle, Shannon whispered, squeezing Alfonso's arm before slipping into the crowd. He watched her approach a group of unfamiliar men, likely more potential recruits. Taking a deep breath, Alfonso made his way to the audio-visual control room. He showed a forged ID to the technician at the door. Last-minute updates to the presentation, he explained smoothly. The technician nodded and stepped aside. Inside, Alfonso worked quickly. He inserted a flash drive and uploaded a meticulously edited video. His heart thundered as he set the timer. In 15 minutes, everything would change. Back in the ballroom, he sipped champagne and made small talk as the minutes ticked by. Across the room, he spotted Shannon, deep in conversation with William Caldwell. Then, the lights dimmed. Conversations faltered. Heads turned toward the large screen. Alfonso's palms were clammy as the video began. Gasps filled the room as images appeared. Shannon, caught in compromising moments with William, Gordon, and Taryn. The footage was carefully constructed to imply the group's illicit activities without exposing the full extent of Alfonso's knowledge. What the hell is this? William Caldwell's voice boomed over the stunned silence. He shoved a waiter aside, sending champagne flying. Gordon Avery flushed crimson, tugging at his collar, stammering as people surrounded him. This is some kind of twisted prank. Taryn Navarro stood frozen, mouth open, as his wife shrieked. With your own cousin? Pandemonium broke out. Guests shouted, demanded explanations, and began making frantic phone calls. Some bolted for the exits. In the midst of the chaos, Alfonso calmly approached Shannon. Her face contorted with rage and disbelief as she whirled to confront him. "How dare you?" she spat. "Save it, Shannon," Alfonso said coldly, pulling an envelope from his jacket. "Divorce papers. I suggest you read them carefully." Her eyes widened. "Alfonso, you do not understand. This is not what it looks like. If you just let me explain, I understand perfectly," he said, cutting her off. "I have seen the videos. All of them." The mask fell from her face, replaced by fury. "You went through my things." "I found them by accident," he replied. "But that is beside the point. I know about your group. I know what you have been doing and who you have been manipulating." Her eyes darted across the room. William was being berated by his wife. Gordon was frantically calling someone. Taryn had vanished. "You have no idea what you have done," Shannon hissed. "This is bigger than you can comprehend." "I know enough," Alfonso said firmly. "It is over. For you. For your organization." At that moment, commotion by the entrance drew their attention. Several police officers strode into the room, led by a woman Alfonso recognized, the chief of police. Shannon sneered. "You think this will stop us? You have no idea how deep this goes. We have people everywhere." "Maybe," Alfonso said. "But after tonight, the world will be watching. Your secrets are out." He turned to walk away. Shannon grabbed his arm, her nails digging into his skin. "Do not walk away from me. You do not know what I am capable of." Alfonso gently removed her hand. "I think I do," he said softly. "Goodbye, Shannon." He left her standing amid the chaos she had helped create. Outside, the night air hit his face, cool and sharp. He exhaled deeply. Sirens wailed in the distance, mingling with the muffled frenzy behind him. As he loosened his bow tie, Alfonso allowed himself a small smile. This was not the end, but it was a powerful beginning. He hailed a taxi, ready to face whatever challenges the coming days would bring. As the car pulled away, he watched the gala's lights fade in the rearview mirror, symbolically leaving behind the life he once knew. Stepping into an uncertain but potentially brighter future, Alfonso Manning awoke the morning after the charity gala to a cacophony of ringing phones and buzzing notifications. His head throbbed, a cruel reminder of the stress and adrenaline that had coursed through him the previous night. Squinting at the bright screen of his phone, he was met with a flood of missed calls and messages. The events of the night before surged back in an overwhelming wave, and a mix of relief and dread settled heavily in his stomach. A text from Sylvia Rodriguez stood out. "Turn on the news. Now." Fumbling for the remote, Alfonso switched on the television. The anchorwoman's voice filled the room, her tone grave. "Breaking news this morning. Several high-profile arrests have been made following last night's charity gala scandal. Among those taken into custody is Shannon Manning, wife of security consultant Alfonso Manning." Alfonso stared in disbelief as footage from the night before played on-screen. There was Shannon, being led away in handcuffs. William Caldwell was shown shielding his face from a swarm of reporters, and Gordon Avery was seen being escorted from his office building. The surreal nature of it all washed over Alfonso like a tide he could not stop. His phone buzzed again. This time, it was Detective Sarah Chin. "Mr. Manning, we need to talk. Can you come to the station within an hour?" Soon after, Alfonso found himself seated across from Detective Chin in a small, windowless room at the police station. Her dark eyes scrutinized him over a steaming cup of coffee. "Mr. Manning," she began, her voice cool and professional, "I understand you have information about the organization your wife was involved with." Alfonso leaned forward, nodding. "More than information, Detective. I have evidence. Videos, recorded conversations, financial records." "Sylvia, Miss Rodriguez, help me gather it all." Detective Chin's brow lifted slightly at the mention of Sylvia's name. "Start from the beginning, Mr. Manning. Do not leave anything out." For the next several hours, Alfonso laid everything bare, from discovering the hidden DVDs, to his partnership with Sylvia, to the calculated exposure of the cult at the gala. Detective Chin listened closely, occasionally asking for clarification or more detail. When he finally finished, she leaned back in her chair, tapping her pen thoughtfully against her notepad. "Mr. Manning, I will be honest with you. What you have uncovered, it is enormous. Bigger than you probably realize. This organization has its tentacles wrapped around every level of our city's infrastructure." Alfonso felt a chill crawl down his spine. "What does that mean for the investigation?" Detective Chin's lips pressed into a thin line. "It means we have to tread very carefully. There are people involved who have the power to erase evidence, silence witnesses, and derail entire investigations. So what do we do? Alfonso asked, frustration edging into his voice. We build an airtight case, Chen replied. Quietly. I am assembling a task force of people I trust implicitly. But we will need your continued cooperation. Are you prepared for that? Alfonso nodded without hesitation. Whatever it takes, detective. I want to see this through. In the weeks that followed, Alfonso found himself pulled into a whirlwind of legal meetings, confidential briefings, and ongoing work with the task force. He watched as the case against Sharon and the other cult members began to take form. But despite the progress, resistance was becoming increasingly apparent. One afternoon, Alfonso observed a witness interview that took a troubling turn. I think I may have been mistaken in my earlier statement, the nervous witness stammered. My memory of events is not as clear as I thought. Detective Chin's face remained stoic, but Alfonso saw the frustration flicker in her eyes. Once the witness had left, she turned to Alfonso. That is the third witness this week to suddenly develop amnesia. They're getting to people, Alfonso. We need to move faster. The stress began to wear on him. Nightmares plagued his sleep, visions of shadowy figures and Shannon's accusing stare. During the day, he jumped at every unfamiliar sound, always looking over his shoulder. At Sylvia's insistence, he began therapy with Dr. Ramirez. It is normal to feel overwhelmed, Alfonso, the therapist reassured him. You have been through a traumatic ordeal and the threat is not over. But remember, you are not alone. I know, Alfonso murmured. It is just. I keep thinking about Sharon. How could I have been so blind? How did I not see what was happening right in front of me? Dr. Ramirez leaned in, her tone gentle but firm. Master manipulators like Sharon, and the group she was involved with, are highly skilled at hiding who they really are. You cannot blame yourself for their deception. Taking those words to heart, Alfonso began to lean on the people he trusted. He strengthened old friendships and relied on their unwavering support to stay grounded. One evening, while dining with Sylvia and a few close friends, his phone buzzed. We have a problem. Meet me at the usual place in an hour. Detective Chin Alfonso's stomach dropped. He excused himself and left, mind racing. What new threat had emerged? Months passed. The legal battles intensified. Alfonso split his time between his job at Elite Guard Solutions and assisting the investigation. But the constant pressure was wearing him down. One evening, as he left the office late, something about his car felt off. The security light blinked irregularly. Years of training kicked in. Something was not right. As he approached the vehicle, a man stepped from the shadows. Mr. Manning, the stranger said, his voice flat and cold. I have a message for you. Alfonso tensed, ready for a fight. Who are you? What do you want? The man extended an envelope. An invitation. My employers would like a word with you. I suggest you accept. Alfonso's heart pounded. This had to be the cult. And if I refuse? That would be unwise, the man replied. There is a car waiting. If you call the police or run, the consequences will be severe. Weighing his options, Alfonso quickly realized resistance could be dangerous. He chose to play along, for now. As he followed the man to the waiting vehicle, he subtly activated the burner phone Sylvia had given him, sending a prearranged distress signal. The drive was long and disorienting. After countless random turns, Alfonso lost track of their route. The man sat beside him, unmoving. Where are we going? Alfonso asked. You will see soon enough, Mr. Manning. Patience is a virtue. He almost laughed patience while being kidnapped by a dangerous cult. Still, he remained calm, preparing himself mentally for whatever was ahead. Eventually, the car stopped. Alfonso looked out to see a dilapidated building, the once Grand Starlight Hotel, now abandoned, with boarded windows and a faded sign hanging askew. Charming place, he muttered as he was ushered inside. They passed through a decaying lobby and up a creaking staircase, the air thick with mildew. Finally, they stopped at a set of double doors. The man knocked twice and stepped aside. Alfonso entered what had once been the ballroom. A long table stretched through the center, surrounded by high-backed chairs. At the head of the table sat Sammy Watkins, the cult's enigmatic and ruthless leader, someone Alfonso had only seen in surveillance footage. Mr. Manning, Watkins said smoothly, we meet at last. Please, have a seat. Alfonso remained standing, scanning the room. Familiar faces from the gala stared back, cult members who had escaped arrest. Their expressions ranged from curiosity to hostility. I will stand. Thanks, Alfonso replied evenly. What is this about? Straight to business. I like that, Watkins said. folding his hands. You have caused us quite a bit of trouble, but I am a reasonable man. I believe we can come to an arrangement. An arrangement? Alfonso asked, suspicion thick in his voice. Yes, Watkins nodded. This investigation is becoming inconvenient. We want you to use your influence to halt it and to help secure Shannon's release. Alfonso's jaw clenched. You cannot be serious. Oh, I am very serious, Watkins replied, his eyes narrowing. You have more sway than you think. A single public doubt about the evidence, perhaps a suggestion that things are not as they appear, would go a long way. And why would I do that? Alfonso asked, though he already knew the answer. Because, Watkins said, his voice turning sharp, if you do not, there will be consequences. Your career, your safety, the lives of those you care about, all of it is at stake. Our reach is greater than you can imagine. Alfonso's thoughts raced. He needed time. He needed a plan. I need to think about this, Alfonso said, trying to keep his voice as neutral as possible. Watkins nodded slowly, as if he had anticipated the response. Of course, we are not unreasonable. Take a moment to consider your options. With a wave of his hand, Watkins dismissed the others from the room. As the cult members filed out, Alfonso was left alone, the crushing weight of the situation pressing down on him. He began to pace, his mind racing. He knew he could not give in to their demands, but an outright refusal might get him killed. He needed a plan, and fast. His security training took over. As he moved through the dim room, he instinctively scanned for exits, weapons, anything he could use. Then he saw it. A small air vent near the floor, partially hidden behind a thick curtain. Quietly, Alfonso knelt in front of it. It was a tight fit, but he might be able to squeeze through. He retrieved a pin from his pocket and began unscrewing the cover. Come on. Come on, he muttered under his breath as he worked at the rusted screws. Just as he loosened the final one, footsteps echoed outside the door. Heart pounding, Alfonso moved away from the vent, regaining his composure. He now had a way out, but escaping too soon might mean losing the chance to gather critical evidence against the cult. As the footsteps drew closer, he made his decision. He would stay? The opportunity to collect information that could bring down the entire organization was worth the risk. The door handle turned. Alfonso steeled himself for what was coming. He took a deep breath, grounding himself in years of security experience. But even that did little to prepare him for what followed. He had freed himself from his restraints, but now the real test began. The air was thick with dust and tension. Every creak of the abandoned Starlight Hotel made his nerves bristle. Alfonso pressed his ear against the door, listening. Nothing. Silence. They had left him alone, probably to let their threats settle in. But they underestimated him. Then, a faint sound. At first, it seemed like the old building settling. But then he heard it again. Voices. Muffled shouts. Footsteps running. Alfonso's pulse quickened. Had Sylvia received his distress signal? Was help finally arriving? Or was this another trick? He did not have to wonder for long. Suddenly, the silence exploded into chaos. A door slammed open somewhere down the hall. NYPD. Freeze. Gunshots cracked through the corridors as cult members scrambled to retaliate. Alfonso dropped to the floor on instinct, his training taking hold. Outside, chaos erupted. Shouts, thuds, more gunfire. He scanned the room, eyes locking on a heavy brass lamp. Not ideal, but better than nothing. He grabbed it, testing its weight. Then he moved. Cracking the door open, he stepped into utter mayhem. Cult members and officers wrestled in close combat. The hall stank of gunpowder and fear. A cultist charged him. Alfonso swung the lamp, striking the man hard across the jaw. The man collapsed, and Alfonso grabbed his weapon, now armed and alert. He pushed forward through the corridor, searching the frenzied scene for familiar faces. Turning a corner, he nearly collided with Sylvia Rodriguez. Alfonso, she exclaimed, eyes wide with relief and determination. Thank God. We need to move, now? Sylvia, how did you? She cut him off with a sharp wave. No time. Watkins is trying to escape. He has a briefcase full of documents. It could be everything we need to shut this down. Alfonso's jaw tightened. Where was he last seen? Heading to the roof. Come on. They sprinted through the crumbling hotel, dodging debris and ducking under swinging fists. Alfonso's world narrowed. Find Watkins. Secure the briefcase. In this, they reached the final staircase. At the top, Alfonso spotted a figure disappearing through a rooftop door. There, he shouted. I'm going after him. Cover me. Without waiting for an answer, he burst through the door and onto the roof. Cool night air slammed into him, a harsh contrast to the stifling heat below. Against the backdrop of the city skyline stood Sammy Watkins, his tailored suit wrinkled, his once flawless hair disheveled. In one hand, he clutched a briefcase, in the other, a gun. It's over, Watkins, Alfonso shouted, his own weapon trained squarely on the man. There's nowhere left to run. Watkins turned, his face twisted with contempt. Oh, Mr. Manning. Always the noble one, are you not? You have no idea what you are up against. I think I have a good idea, Alfonso replied, taking a careful step forward. Money laundering, identity theft, human trafficking. And that is just the surface, is it not? Watkins laughed, hollow and humorless. You think you've won? This is bigger than you, bigger than all of us. You cannot stop what's coming. Maybe not, Alfonso conceded, eyes narrowing. But I can stop you. Then everything happened at once. Watkins raised his gun, but Alfonso moved faster. He tackled him, sending both men sprawling across the rooftop. The briefcase skidded out of reach, stopping just inches from the ledge. They grappled, fists flying. Watkins fought with the desperation of a cornered animal. He was stronger than he looked, and every strike came with the weight of a man about to lose everything. A brutal punch to Alfonso's jaw stunned him. Watkins scrambled to his feet, diving for the briefcase. But Alfonso recovered quickly. He lunged, grabbing Watkins by the ankles and dragging him back down. They rolled dangerously close to the edge of the roof, neither man giving an inch. The gun was lost somewhere in the scuffle, but Watkins did not stop. He slammed an elbow into Alfonso's ribs, knocking the wind out of him. Gasping, Alfonso slipped, scraping across the rooftop, his body sliding toward the edge. And then, nothing. Air. He was falling. Time slowed. He saw the street far below. Heard Sylvia scream his name. Desperately, he threw out a hand and caught the edge of the rooftop. His fingers clung to the concrete, the weight of his body pulling him downward. Then Watkins appeared above him, looming like a vulture. A mixture of triumph and madness gleamed in Watkins' eyes. Goodbye, Mr. Manning, he sneered, raising his foot to stomp on Alfonso's fingers. But Alfonso was not finished yet. With a surge of adrenaline, he swung his free hand upward, seizing Watkins by the ankle. The cult leader's eyes widened in shock as he lost his balance and teetered over the edge of the roof. In that moment, Alfonso had a choice. He could let Watkins fall, end the threat once and for all. It would be easy. Just let go. But that was not who Alfonso Manning was. Grunting with effort, he tightened his grip on Watkins' ankle, even as his own fingers began to slip from the ledge. Sylvia, he shouted. Little help here. Sylvia appeared at the edge of the rooftop, her eyes widening in alarm. Without hesitation, she grabbed Alfonso's arm and braced herself against the concrete. Together, with strained muscles and determination, they pulled both men back to solid ground. Watkins collapsed, the fight drained from him. Alfonso, panting, used his own tie to secure the cult leader's hands behind his back. You saved me. Watkins gasped, disbelief written all over his face. Why? Alfonso met his gaze, calm and steady. Because that's what the good guys do, Watkins. We're better than you. And now, you're going to face justice for everything you've done. As if on cue, the door to the roof burst open. Detective Chin and her team rushed in, weapons drawn, quickly securing Watkins and recovering the briefcase. Detective Chin approached Alfonso, a rare smile curving her lips. Good work, Manning. We got them. All of them. Alfonso nodded, the adrenaline fading, leaving him exhausted. The documents? He asked. Safe, Chin confirmed. And from what we've seen, it's everything we need to dismantle this entire operation. As Watkins was led away in cuffs, Alfonso felt a gentle hand on his shoulder. He turned to find Sylvia, concern in her eyes. Are you okay? She asked softly. Alfonso looked out over the city skyline. The first light of dawn was breaking across the horizon. Yeah, he said finally. I think I am. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. Legal proceedings, media interviews, debriefings. It felt like Alfonso was at the center of a storm. The documents recovered from Watkins turned out to be a treasure trove of evidence, exposing the full extent of the cult's corruption. One afternoon, Alfonso sat in Detective Chin's office as she pinned another photo to the evidence board. Corrupt officials, business tycoons, even members of law enforcement stared back from the wall. It's staggering, Chin said, stepping back to survey the board. This may be the biggest corruption scandal in the city's history. Alfonso nodded, both satisfied and weary. How many arrests so far? 73 as of this morning. And we're not done. Every day, we uncover more. As they discussed the ongoing investigation, Alfonso's thoughts drifted to Shannon. His ex-wife was now facing a long list of charges. Her trial was set for a few months out. The woman he had once loved, that life felt like it belonged to someone else. Chin seemed to read his thoughts. You did the right thing, Manning. Never doubt that. He gave a small smile. I know. It's just a lot to take in. Outside the police station, a swarm of reporters ambushed him. Mr. Manning, how does it feel to be called a hero? Is it true your ex-wife was a key player in the cult? What can you tell us about the investigation? Alfonso raised his hands. No comment. Please, I just want to go home. He pushed through the crowd, escaping into the safety of his car. But even as he drove, he could not shake the feeling of being watched. The cult might have been dismantled, but its shadows still lingered. At home, Alfonso poured himself a drink and sank into his armchair. The house felt hollow, echoing with memories of a life that no longer existed. His phone buzzed, another message from a talk show requesting an exclusive interview. He ignored it. He had given one interview, a brief but powerful message warning about the dangers of such organizations and the importance of trust and integrity. That was enough. He had no desire to keep reliving the nightmare for ratings. Instead, he reached for a notepad and began to write. Ideas flowed. Plans for a new consulting firm specializing in corporate and personal security. A way to turn his experience into something meaningful. To help others. As he wrote, he felt something unfamiliar. Purpose. The ordeal had left scars. It had made him more cautious. But it had also made him stronger and more appreciative of the people who had stood by him. Weeks turned to months. Phoenix Security, Alfonso's firm, began to take shape. He hired carefully, choosing people he trusted implicitly. Among the first was Sylvia Rodriguez, whose investigative skills had proven invaluable. One evening, as they were closing up the office, Sylvia lingered by his desk. You know, she said, when you first came to me with this case, I never imagined it would lead to all this. Alfonso leaned back in his chair, a wry smile on his lips. You and me both. Some days, I still can't believe it's really over. She perched on the edge of his desk. Is it, though? Over? I mean. Alfonso considered her question. The cult is finished. But the work, helping people, exposing corruption that never ends. Sylvia smiled, a glimmer of excitement in her eyes. Well then, boss, what's our next move? Before Alfonso could answer, his phone buzzed. A text from Detective Chin. New case. Might be up your alley. Drinks later to discuss? He showed Sylvia the message, raising a brow in question. She grinned. I'll grab my coat. Later that week, Alfonso hosted a small gathering at the new office. Sylvia was there, along with Detective Chin and a few close friends who had supported him through the chaos. Glasses were raised in a toast. Alfonso stood, his voice steady and sure. To new beginnings. To new beginnings, the others echoed, their faces glowing with the same mix of hope and determination that filled Alfonso's heart. As the conversation swirled around him, Alfonso paused, letting the moment sink in. From betrayal to justice. From despair to purpose. The road ahead might still be uncertain, but Alfonso Manning was no longer afraid. He had found his calling. He had found his people. He had found himself. And that, he knew, was the greatest victory of all.